Recording. As usual, I have a pillow. You're going to need something like this, like grab a couch pillow or a towel or something. We're going to start off using it, not just sitting on it like I usually do. Um, I was talking with a friend the other day about she has some friends who claimed pandemic unemployment assistance because their business was impacted by COVID, and then the business started to pick back up, and they kept the benefits because they were worried about what would happen in the future, as many people at this point are. And um, they kept the benefits, and they ended up going and kind of gambling a little bit in the stock market, and they got a bunch more money from it. And she was denied pandemic unemployment assistance because the status of her business right before COVID was also not good enough to qualify for anything. So she was just completely at the raw end of the whole deal, and she's watching these people that she knows get aid and then grow their wealth from the aid. And she's like, I don't know if I should be upset about this. And I'm like, well, there's a couple reasons why maybe being upset is not helpful. Um, we never know what's going to happen in the future. Your friends also have kids that they need to worry about. You do have your situation handled, and karmically, it is most sound, and not even just like karmically, like worried about like exactly how things are going to impact us, but like just for the fact of dealing with situations, the most sound way to deal with anything is to be happy for people who are doing well that we do like, happy for people that are doing well that we don't like, compassionate towards those who are not doing well, that we can be in a place of kindness and compassion for folks that we get along well with, and people who do not serve us and do not grow our light, to just be compassionate towards them as well. To say, yes, you can stay at that distance, and I'm not going to be mad at you about the thing that you're doing that is bothering me, because that's only going to hold this madness in my heart. And my friend, her situation was that first space where we need to be joyful for people who are doing well. And that way we can hold the same concern in our hearts that we were just talking about, like folks who are still experiencing all of those fires, and to be able to hold all of this love and all of this space inside of us for all of the things that we experience. We're going to have a really big heart opening practice today, because I think it's really hard to hold a lot of love in our hearts for people that we don't like, or people who are maybe doing well that we don't think should be doing well. And that space is important to be able to hold that, because holding discontent and holding distemper about it doesn't serve us either. So I'll start with some face brushing. Go ahead and take your index finger and your thumb together, and taking the squishy spot starting at the center of your forehead and brushing outwards towards your temples a few times. And then from the sides of your nose out to your temples, along your cheekbones. Going from your temples down to your chin, along your jawline. And from the sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh lines. And then taking your fingertips underneath and behind your ears, massaging and lifting up from that point. Feeling the lift increase with your inhale. And then when you exhale, go ahead and drop your hands down into your lap. Let your palms face up. Let your collarbones open. And feel your breath moving around your heart space, feeling the expansion of your ribs. And then take a nice big breath in through your nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. As you blink your eyes open, we're gonna get set up on our backs. If you've got like a small pillow like this that will fold over in the middle, you can do that. If you have a towel that you want to roll up or a sweater that you want to fold over a few times, anything like this is just squishy about this shape and size will do. You're gonna put it about a foot or so beyond the edge of your mat, and then you'll lay down where your rib cage is right on top, maybe like the points of your shoulder blades are there, and you're gonna kind of push yourself back until your shoulders come to or onto, to or towards the floor. If you're noticing this is too much in your back, you're just going to wiggle yourself forward so your shoulders are off. So you get to decide if it's too much, just wiggle your hips a little bit further away from your pillow or whatever you've got. If you can wiggle back towards, the shoulders come down, that might be a good space for you too. And take some time and really make sure, like if something feels wrong, you're probably correct. It's wrong and you should adjust the body and be sure. And if you like, you can take the arms and open them up. If it feels okay, sometimes taking the hands and dropping them behind the head will also help to release any tension that might come up in the neck from this back bend. And then you can leave the knees bent. Maybe they drop towards each other. Sometimes dropping the knees out is good. Maybe legs straight. And once you get settled into a place that feels okay for you, some place that you can be with yourself in this space. Feel the breath opening up the heart space, the fronts of your ribs. Keep thinking softness around your collarbones and the muscles around your jaw and your throat. Just letting your head and your hips be heavy as your heart is light. And gently letting all of the constrictive tissue that builds up in the front of the rib cage relax and open up. Stay here for about 3 more breaths. And then start to slide the feet in a little bit closer towards your hips. If you had the legs straight or if you had the legs maybe a little bit more back, you're just going to bring the heels in as close as you can. And then take your right knee and drop it over towards the right. And your left leg, you're just going to pull it over a little bit. So if you go really far, it might feel a little intense in the lower back. So that's why I'll kind of stop about halfway over with the left leg. And then just take 2 more exhales to soften your belly. Just see how that might change the way this feels. Make sure you're dropping your left ribs down. And then bring your knees back up. And we'll take your left leg and just drop it all the way over as far as it goes, as far as is comfortable. And take the right leg over about halfway. And your right ribs are going to lift up, but try to let them still be heavy, even if they're lifting up. So you're relaxing those right ribs back towards your support. This is the last thing up on our pillow. Just take another full round of breath. And we'll take the legs back up. We're going to roll all the way up and over, so catch yourself with your hands. Move this off to the side so you've got plenty of space, nice and flat on your back to come down. And then let yourself rest heavy into the floor, feeling what's changed. It might feel a little bit more stable and more grounding. But still noticing that light space in your heart. And then let your knees roll over towards the right all of the way. You can tuck your left leg up a little bit more and then push into the back of your right arm so the left collarbone opens up. As you inhale, feel the heart expanding. As you exhale, soften in the belly. Inhale, heart expands. Exhale, softening in the belly. And then bring the legs up and you'll take them over into the other side. You might slide that right thigh up more and then push into the back of the right arm so that the left arm so that the right arm opens up, that right collarbone opens up. And with every exhale, soften into your belly. One more breath in. One more breath out. And come back to the center and bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, rock around side to side. Now rock yourself up to a seat. We're going to come into puppy dog pose or heart melting shape. So onto your hands and your knees. Pad up your knees if you need any extra cushion down there underneath them. And then walk your hands out, resting your forehead down and letting your heart fall down into the front of your ribs. Tailbone floats up, your hips reach back, just to keep space in the waist and length in the torso. As you're here, the heart might get heavier, the heart opening might increase. One more breath in. Big breath out. And you're going to walk your hands back so you can come up onto your hands and knees. Take your right foot and bring it up by your right hand. I'm going to take your hands up onto your front thigh. You want to have the hips at least just a little bit in front of your knees so you've got space to open up the front of this left hip. And then take your hands up. If you can, interlace your fingers and make Vira Mudra, those Charlie's Angels arms, and you're going to feel your belly lifting up to your heart lifting up into your armpits, and then from there your fingertips lift. So it's really coming from the center of the torso space. And as you inhale, you're going to feel the heart lifting up to the fingertips. As you exhale, soften your inner shoulders, and do that 2 more times. Push into your front foot. Inhale. Lift up into those fingertips. Exhale, soften the inner shoulders. 1 more time. Inhale, lift up into those fingertips. And then exhale, go ahead and take the hands down. I'm going to pull the hips back and just switch sides, taking the left foot forward. Making sure that when you come up, I like to do a little test. If I look down and I can see the top of my thigh, probably I could move my hip a little bit further forward. And then when you get settled, go ahead and take the hands up, interlace the fingers. We're going to lift from the belly up to the heart, from the heart up into those outer armpits, and from there all the way up through the fingertips that are poking right up into the sky. Try to soften the sides of your neck, the insides of the shoulders every time you exhale. Get taller and stronger as you inhale. 1 more big breath in. Exhale, take the hands down. You're going to slide your left leg back, come into table pose. Walk your hands forward, 1 handprint so that you are in a plank. Push into your fingertips, widen your collarbones, and try to keep the collarbones open wide as you lower yourself down onto the floor. And wiggle your hips back a little bit. I'll take your hands behind your back, interlacing your fingers and coming up into locust pose, giving yourself a really big chest stretch. Sometimes bent elbows feel better, sometimes straighter elbows feel better. You can maybe play around with that a little bit. Reach those inner thighs out through your big toes, heart forward, big breath in. And exhale, soften down. Go ahead and make a pillow for your head with your hands. Wiggle your pelvis around. Feeling the lower back relaxing, the neck relaxing. Big inhale. Soften into the floor as you exhale. And then sliding your hands in by your low ribs, we'll come up in a cobra pose, trying to keep just as much stretch in the chest as you did in locust pose. So draw those elbows and those arm bones back and send the heart forward. Reach the toes back behind you. Legs are strong too. One more inhale. Exhale, soften, relax that a bit. On your next breath in, we're going to come back up in a cobra pose. And draw your belly up to your spine. You're going to push yourself up towards table pose. And then widen your knees. We're going to sit back into child's pose. Take yourself back. Let your hips rock side to side. Staying in puppy dog pose or not taking your hips back or worrying about how far you take your hips back is absolutely fine. Take a few breaths, feeling the back of your heart expand. And start to lift yourself up. We're going to come up to standing, take a couple of standing shapes. Go ahead and curl your toes and come into downward facing dog, feeling the power of your heart pushing into your hands. Maybe walk through your heels a little bit. And then going from there into a forward fold, feet to hands, hands to feet. And then go ahead and walk your hands up your legs, coming up to standing. And when you get to standing, you're going to take the right leg, cross it behind the left. So your legs are in pretty close together here. We're going to reach up. We're going to take the Charlie's Angels steeple fingers again. And you're going to squeeze your inner thighs together. The hips go slightly forward. Get taller and longer. And then bump your hips towards the right as you side bend to the left. And try to push into that back foot. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then come on up. You're going to forward fold with the legs crossed. Just go ahead and come on down. You might stop fingertips at shins. You might take the fingertips to the floor. If you are comfortable in your balance and you move your hips a little bit to the right, you'll get a little bit more stretch in the outside of that right thigh. And then if you've had the hips bumped over, come back to the middle. Draw your belly in, bring the hands to the hips and stand up, switching the cross of your legs. It's easy to kind of let the hips sit back when we've crossed them. Try to lift your inner thighs and send the hips forward, reaching the arms up, interlace your fingers. The index fingers point out, bump the hips to the left and side bend up and over towards the right. Back foot pushes down a little bit more. Inhaling, exhaling, and then coming up to the center, we're going to fold forward over those legs again. Take your hands down wherever it's comfortable to you. Don't worry about how far you get. Find a space that you can breathe. If you want to push your hips over a little bit towards the left side, if that feels good to you. One more round of breath. And then bringing your hands to the hips, drawing your belly in, drawing all of you all the way up. And then uncross your legs, bring the feet together. So again, we'll squeeze those inner thighs and feeling the hips come slightly forward. From that space, this little bit of leaning forward towards the toes, we'll take the arms up, interlace those fingers again. And you're gonna lift from the belly up to the heart up to the armpits up to those fingertips, the hips lean slightly forward. Take an inhale, feel your heart pick up. As you exhale, soften those inner shoulders. Maybe the arms go back slightly. Just one more breath like that. Make sure you're long and forward. One more exhale, and then release your arms down. Come back towards a more neutral spine. And separate your feet just a couple of inches. Let the palms turn forward. If it's comfortable to you, close your eyes and just feel your heart expanding in this balanced Tadasana mountain pose. And then you're going to start sitting the hips back, reaching your arms up and forward into chair pose, Utkatasana. See if you can still find this lift and lengthening in your heart. One more breath in. Maybe you sink down a little bit lower as you exhale. And then inhale, straighten your legs, feel the weight go forward towards your toes, heart lifts up to those fingertips. Exhale, bringing the hands back down at your heart. You're gonna take your right foot forward, take your left foot back. Now, if you have a problem being on your toes, this balance is a little bit shaky for you, go ahead and put the back heel down and take more warrior one legs, but it's gonna turn out your pelvis a little bit. It might be kind of hard to get some of the back bending in. It might feel kind of off. So just take the back bend a little bit softer in your body if you want to have that back heel down. If you're okay having the back heel up, the hips are more squared, it might be a little bit more easy to find this flexibility in the spine. Lift your inner thighs up and take your arms back. So we're going to reach the heart back to the biceps back to the thumbs face down, the fingertips are energetic, and the heart keeps moving forward. Trying to lift my heart up, but I am leaning the heart forward as well. Then finding your breath, softening your jaw. Good. One more breath in. One more breath out. Try to keep this power in the chest. You can hop the back foot up a few times. We're going to stand up and take the left leg with us. Go ahead and lift the arms up this time. Maybe you even widen the arms to open and lift the chest. Just take another inhale and then set your foot down. Shake things out. Some tension that'll build up in the back there. We're really working those muscles, so wiggle. And then when appropriately wiggle, just go ahead and take it on the other side. You'll take your right foot back. Make sure that you're not standing on a tightrope. You want to have a little bit of that train track separation in your legs. You can have the back heel down. Just know that you probably aren't going to get quite as much of that back bend happening. You're going to lift the inner thighs so we're a little bit more stable in the pelvis. Take the arms back and then send the heart forward. Notice my back leg is really engaged here. I'm pushing down through those back toes. Keep thinking of your collarbones widening, the jaw muscles softening. Big breath in, big breath out. And then you can take it in pieces and hops and skips, or try to come all the way up, lifting your heart to your fingertips, your right leg in front of you, still lifting those inner thighs. Let the heart expand up into those fingertips, big breath in. And exhale, set it down. Wiggle things out a little bit. We're going to take the legs out, nice and wide, toes facing forward, and then come down into a fold. Maybe your hands come to your shins. Maybe your hands come to the floor. I would advise taking a longer spine to start off with. I have more of this flat back, heart going forward, just because we did a big back bend. And then if you're feeling like it, then starting to ease into rounding and folding inwards. And if that doesn't feel intuitively pleasant and releasing to you, just stay with this longer spine. Maybe you bring the weight a little bit more towards your toes to open up the backs of the legs more. Let's start to come up, bend the knees a little bit, bring the hands to the hips, draw your belly in and stand up. And then take your right toes out to the right, the left toes in, bend, and come into warrior two. Make sure those back toes are up slightly. Let your palms open up. Feel that lightness in your heart space. Trying to keep that lightness as you turn the palms back down. And using your heart to lift up through those right fingertips, we'll come into peaceful warrior. Make sure that your hips aren't going back to the right side. Keep them right in underneath you and lift the heart up to those fingertips. Stay here, inhale. Stay here, exhale. Now inhale, straighten that front leg so we have peaceful triangle. A little bit different lift in this side body space. Inhaling. Exhale, return the arms to a T, bump the hips over towards the left and take the right hand down into triangle. Let this be a little bit more in the hips so we can roll that top hip forward slightly. And if you can still find some space opening the heart, that might be nice. Ears away from the tailbone. Push down into all four corners of both feet. Exhaling. Draw the belly in. Inhale. Come all the way up. And then switch the feet so you're coming over towards the left side. Make sure that those right toes come in slightly and then bend into your left leg. When you get into warrior two, feel the opening in your chest when you revolve the palms and revolve the arms open. See if you can keep that feeling as you turn the palms back down. Exhale, make sure you're nice and deep into that well lined up left thigh. And keep it there as you lift up into peaceful warrior. Try to soften this inner shoulder space and lift from this strong lifted belly we've been cultivating. Two strong feet. Inhaling, root into the earth. Exhale, and then straighten the front leg. Lifting up, feeling things a little bit differently, getting ever so tall every single breath. Take one more inhale, and then return the arms to a T as you bump your hips over towards the right and come down into triangle pose. Let those hips slightly tilt forward. So really get into the belly of that left hamstring, letting this be a little bit more in the lower body. We've done so much upper today. Big breath in. Big breath out. Drawing your belly in, start to come all the way back up. I'm going to bring the toes in and the heels in. Sit down, little Buddha squat. Not a lot, unless you really, really want to do a lot, but I find a little bit is usually enough. We're just going to push into the pinky toe edge of the feet. Make sure that the knees and toes are all open together. My palms are facing up. So I can try to sit into this foundation of my legs and let the heart float up and open. Can I find steadiness and ease even in this space? One more exhale. Straighten the legs, relax your arms. We're going to come down into a seat, fancy yoga transitions. Just take yourself down. I'm going to take the legs over towards the right side, making this pinwheel shape. And I'm going to lean back, lifting that the left hip. Sorry, the hips are over there. The feet are over there. Wherever they are over there, you'll lift this top hip, leaving the knee down. If you want to come down onto your elbow or elbows, you could. If you're on your elbows, don't let your heart sit back here. Try to keep the heart lifted. 2 more breaths. And then take your back arm, probably your left arm, you're going to cross it over and then walk yourself up and walk yourself forward over that left thigh. If this is feeling a little bit claustrophobic in the front of this hip, you can move that leg a little bit further away. after you've been here for a few breaths, if you can get a little bit closer towards that ankle. And if the answer was no, I don't like it, it feels bad, go back to where you were and breathe into that space. It's absolutely fine, but just see if maybe a little bit of time opened up some sensation, some space around your hips. Big breath in. Big breath out. And start to walk the hands back. We're going to take a twist here. You're going to stay straight up and down for the most part. You can let this left hip follow you. We'll just take a little twist over towards the right. Exhaling. And a little twist over towards the left. Just put your hands somewhere that's comfortable to you. It's a little counter twist. Breathing out. And then coming out of this, we're going to take the legs and switch them over towards the other side, finding that pinwheel shape, making sure this foot isn't in by the hip. I've got some space here. And then I'll take the hands back, maybe onto an elbow. This hip might lift, the knee stays down, and we get this release all the way through this front side. Make sure your heart is lifting. It's a constant dialogue with my jaw and throat muscles to relax in this space. It's a dialogue worth having, though. I think it really helps to open the chest space, release tension. Breathing in, breathing out. And then you're going to cross the right hand over. So you have two hands on the same side. Go ahead and walk yourself up and get yourself as much over your shin as you are able to with relative ease, with a space where you can breathe. You can always move that back leg a little bit more open if that is helpful to you. If you are interested in exploring what space might have opened up, you might start walking your heart a little bit more towards your ankle and your foot. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then start walking your hands back in. You're going to take a little twist over towards that left side. It's a small twist. Exhale. Twist back over towards the right side. Again, a small twist. Exhale. And then start to come out of this shape. What we're going to do is come onto our hips, down on the feet, hands back behind. You can be on fingertips if it feels better, especially to start off with. Make sure your feet are in line with your hips and toes face forward. Then push your heart up. Now, leave your hips on the ground, particularly to start off with. See if you can get your rib cage up higher, and then push your heart up into the front of your rib cage more. I'm going to amp that up a bit. Take an inhale. Exhale, soften. In fact, go ahead and grab onto your thighs and pull yourself up and forward. Not like big round, but just drawing yourself in to relax that back space. And then we'll come into that again. You can do exactly what we just did. Hands down, pushing the heart up, lift the rib cage, then lift the heart. Or we'll amp it up a little bit more, coming into altar pose. So making sure that the elbows face back, push into your feet, lift your hips up. Now, can you get your rib cage up higher? And then let your heart open up higher. Squeeze that under butt. One more breath in. And see if you can softly release the hips back down. Just go ahead and hold on to your legs, relaxing that back.
Our big fancy movement today is going to be taking a little bit of a camel flow, and we're going to take the poses soft and slow just to get started. So come up onto your knees. If you would benefit from having maybe like a pillow underneath your shins so you don't have your knees directly into the floor, that can feel good. If this doesn't work, don't worry about it. If you just maybe fold over your mat a bit, any of those things are good. You're going to take your hands to the back pockets and move your hips forward. So it should feel almost like your hips are going to fall forward. You're going to lift up your underbutt. You've got those toes curled under. And then you're going to lift your rib cage up higher off of your hips, off of your hands. Let the heart lift up in the rib cage. Elbows pull back. Take an inhale. And then soften all of that as you exhale. So you're going to rest back a little bit. Then we're going to try just one hand. You're going to take, maybe just keep your right hand, your left hand back. You're going to get your hips forward, lift that underbutt space, lift your rib cage up higher, heart comes up higher in the rib cage, and then the right arm lifts up. So opposite arm lifts. A little bit of a twist. Don't go too twisty, more reachy in this side. And then exhale, soften it back. You'll notice when I soften, the hips do rest back a little bit. That's going to be a little bit of the path that this will start to take. Take your right hand to your right hip, feel the underbutt lift, the hips go forward, the rib cage lifts up, the heart comes up, and the arm lifts. Of course, you might be looking back over your right shoulder, or you could be looking up towards your left hand. And as you exhale, soften those hips back a little bit. We're going to start to take this into a flow. It's possible that you might prefer to touch your fingertips to your heel rather than fingertips to your hip. See if you can get those hips forward, lift your heart up towards those fingertips, and there's a little bit of a circular pathway as you swoop your hips back and inhale to lift up. Exhale, swoop those hips back again. This could just be hand at your hip. It doesn't have to be hand down to your heel. Make sure that you squeeze and lift up that underbutt, get longer. Take us a few more rounds each side. It doesn't have to be fast. It's about really feeling the openness when you get into the shape. Maybe about one more round each side. You can decide when you're done. Just make sure that you're even. Go ahead and come out of this. Now, if you've got that pillow underneath your legs, you're going to come off of this. You're going to take this underneath your seat and then sit back. If this is no good for your knees, just sit on your bum, put your legs out in front of you. If you can be here, just let your heart rest above your hips. Let your belly soften back. Stay here, slow, steady breaths. Just coming back down from that elation and intensity that camel pose can sometimes bring. One more exhale. And starting to unwind yourself. And take the pillow, set it off to your side. You're going to come down and lay flat on the belly. Take your time getting there. Make a pillow for your head with your hands. And take your right arm out to the right side. Let the hand be slightly, it's slightly above the shoulder, so not quite in line with the shoulder, maybe a little bit more in line with your ear. Left hand comes in. We're going to roll back and gently stretch out the front of that shoulder. We've been doing a lot of this, so don't worry about how intense you can make the sensation. Just make sure that you're allowing that shoulder a chance to relax into the twist. Relax into the stretch. Just making sure you're not holding tension there with how much power has been going into the heart in this practice. Go ahead and roll yourself onto the belly. And again, the hand's a little bit more in line with the ear. I find it's usually less intense when the hand is up a little bit higher. Go ahead and look over towards the right, roll the right leg back. Find softness. Yeah, you can stretch. Yeah, you can increase the sensation. But if you're able to find some softness here, just kind of recovering from all of this strong heart opening we've been doing. One more breath out. And then roll yourself onto your belly. We're going to keep rolling, come all the way onto your back. When you get onto your back, just let your knees bend, let your arms drop by your sides for a moment, let your back settle down into the floor, into your mat space. And take your legs in. You're going to cross your ankles, reach outside of the legs to hold onto your shins, your knees, whatever it is that you hold on to easily. And if that's going well, you're going to cross your thighs, but still just hold up at your knees. And if that's going well, you're going to lift your feet up a little bit. Maybe you cross ankles. If that doesn't work in your body, don't worry about it. Just leave your legs crossed. And kind of squeeze your outer knees towards each other. Now, whichever leg is on top, cross the opposite arm on top. See about wrapping up eagle arms or just give yourself a hug. When you do this, the belly might lift. It's a little bit of power in the core to squeeze those outer thighs together and squeeze the belly down towards the floor, still finding breath with soft collarbones. I know, this is really intense. One more exhale. Unwind your arms, set the feet down. Oh, there's another side to that. But we'll start with just kind of relaxing around the hips first. So whatever leg you had on top, you're going to cross the other ankle in front and just go ahead and grab on. The easy part. The yummy lower back releasing part. Then we're going to amp it up a little bit more. Go ahead and cross your knees. We'll still just hold on to the legs for a bit here, relaxing that lower back space. If you want to, you can cross the ankles. You could leave them together. You got to squeeze those inner thighs, press those outer legs against each other. Opposite arm will wrap on top, and you're going to draw the belly in. A little bit of fire in the core. Keep thinking of the back dropping down into the floor. One more inhale. One more exhale. Unwind the arms, unwind your legs, set the feet down, and rest for a moment. And take the feet towards each other and let the knees open up. You won't be here for very long. You could always use the fingertips to support the legs, letting these inner thighs soften. And then bringing the legs back up. You're going to rock yourself up to a seat. You can also roll yourself over and come up to a seat. When you get there, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Rock your hips around and or adjust the flesh to give some space. And then draw your heart forward towards your feet. So rather long spine, not stick straight, not rigid, but not curving in. Just lead with that heart. One more exhale. And then coming up. I'm going to draw the legs in. Bring your right hand behind you. Take the left hand to the outside of your right knee. Just apply a little pressure and twist right into that deep belly space. And then notice if your left shoulder is lifting up, you're just going to soften it. One more exhale. And unhook that elbow, come to the other side. Just bringing that left hand back somewhere that feels good to you. The right hand hooks the outside of the thigh or the right arm, and then you'll push into the arm and rotate in the belly. Soften that belly in and relax your right collarbone. One more breath out. And then releasing your twist. You're going to come down onto your back, bring your knees up, rock around your hips a little bit. And then bring the knees out wide, come up into happy baby, either grabbing for the shins or the feet or peace fingers maybe around your big toes. Rock it around as much as you like. Finding your breath, finding some ease in this posture. And then release your feet, take your legs down, bring your feet fairly close together, and cross your left thigh on top of your right thigh. You're going to use your right foot to push down and then push your hips over a little bit to the left, open your arms, let the knees go to the right. You can stop at your foot, or you can relax the shin all the way down or more down. Let your belly relax inwards, softening every time you exhale. If this is too much crossed all the way over, you're just going to come back up to being on the foot. And you can also uncross your legs. If having the legs crossed is too much around your back and your hips, just uncross them. Big breath out. Start to uncross your legs. You're going to come back to the center. Take your time getting settled in the middle, wiggle whatever you need in order to feel balanced. Then cross your right leg over. You're going to push down in the left foot to hop your hips to the right. And then you'll come into the twist with the foot down or with the shin more down, and let the belly soften in to release this right leg. And you find steadiness in your breath even here. You swallow the ego and adjust your shape to allow yourself to find steadiness in the breath. One more exhale. Start to unwind your legs, come back to the center. Adjust your hips until you're in a neutral space. Walk your feet a bit wider. Let your knees knock against each other. If there's anything else that you need to wrap up your practice, feel free to go there or start to settle into your final rest. Maybe it's here, maybe legs extended, legs up against the wall, seated meditation. Find a space in which you can settle in and enjoy.
Start to come back to your breath. Setting an intention, perhaps, that you can continue this practice off of the mat. This practice of connecting with your breath, living open-heartedly, having compassion for those who are not doing so well, joy for those who are, love and friendliness towards those we like. Calm equanimity towards those we don't like so much. Finding that peaceful middle ground. Start to roll yourself over to one side, pausing in gratitude for your practice and gratitude for this opportunity to practice together. And then starting to come up into a comfortable seat. Take your time getting there, no rush. When you arrive with the hands at your heart, with your heart continuing to open with all of the good work we've done here together today. We seal the practice, releasing an Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the love that resides within each of us, the light and darkness inside of all of our hearts. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much, April. Glad you enjoyed it. Have good days, everybody. Good time out, Judy.
I love your new place.
It's awesome. Bye, Judy.